Hi, and welcome to our March monthly update, ICAAR podcast. As always, I'm joined by Megan Flewellyn and myself, Phil O'Brien. Megan is our CEO. I'm our ICAAR president, and I want to thank everybody to tune in. And we have some great topics to talk about today. Briefly, just off the top here, we've got important changes when it comes to the lead-based paint disclosure and how we're working with that. We have a new one out, and we're going to talk a lot about that. We have a free law and ethics class coming up. So we want to make sure people are signing up for that and taking advantage of that free class. And then we also want to talk about ICAAR's involvement in the community and different ways that we get involved, ways we give back, and things that we can provide for all our members and the community as well. So let's get into it. And Megan, let's take it away.
Let's dive right into it. So yes, the first thing is we recently have gotten more guidance around the lead-based paint disclosure form. So at the end of 2024, the U.S. EPA, they released a new version of this lead-based paint disclosure form that all of you guys use in your transactions. There's a very minor change to the form, but since that form has been updated, first step is we need all members to make sure that they've downloaded that updated form. They've updated that, in their notes and that they're using that updated form. If you're using a form from prior to these changes at the end of 2024, that's going to be out of compliance.
Gotcha. So you said it was a minor change. What was that change?
Yes. So they now have just an initial line for the purchaser's agent to clarify agent responsibilities under the EPA.
Gotcha.
So they made this change to kind of address for sale by owner properties.
Okay.
But thanks to recent changes in our compensation and that the buyer's side and the seller side is separate, it has added a layer of confusion to the process.
Gotcha. So because before it was just an initial from the listing agent to say that they've communicated to the seller, what the responsibilities are, what they need to do with the lead-based paint disclosure. But now we're adding another line that says the buyer's agent is communicating to the seller
their
responsibilities with this form.
Yes.
Okay. And I can see how that could be a little, in a normal transaction, it's very rare that the buyer's agent is talking to the seller, but I'm sure there's a workaround that makes it all very clean. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that workaround that we have for you guys right now is there's just a simple sentence that you need to include either directly in the purchase agreement or in the addendum.
So there will be an additional line added in there. Do you think that eventually we're going to get that kind of hardwired into the purchase agreement?
Yes. So as I kind of mentioned, these guidances are coming down rather quickly, but the forms committee in the next couple of weeks is going to be looking at our purchase agreement to see if they're going to permanently add in that sentence language to clarify both sides.
Perfect. So we'll get the forms committee on that. I think that'll be like about 42 people looking at that then?
Yeah, we have a really big forms committee this year, so there's going to be a lot of eyes on that document.
It's good checks and balances, and they're really cranking out some good work, so absolutely. So we have the new lead-based paint form update. We also want to talk about, just reiterate, because we've had a couple of instances recently with compensation on the MLS. So we definitely want to take this point or take this time to point out there can't be any compensation noted, referenced, or highlighted on the MLS. And that's even it's not just a number; it's any verbiage that would point to that or explain something on how any type of buyer agent is being compensated. Is that correct?
Yes. So again, this change happened last year. It is still in effect, but any conversation about compensation, about commission, cannot touch the MLS. Nothing in the MLS can acknowledge compensation offered to the other side in any capacity.
And that's and that also is any type of remarks, even if it's agent remarks that's not public, that still cannot be on there. And I think one thing to point out is that if you're, especially with new construction or copy and cloning any listing, I think that's one thing that we're seeing is that make sure you go back, take a look at the whole thing. Even though there's not a number field anymore, there still might be some reference in the remarks. So if you copy clone, do a double check, proofread that, and make sure you deleted any inference to commission or compensation. Sorry.
Yes. And if you're ever wondering, if you're ever concerned, before you hit save and publish, ask your broker. Or, of course, always call us at ICAAR. We've had people ask, is this allowed? Because, closing costs, that is something that you can communicate on the MLS. Yeah. So I understand that there can be some question or confusion at any point, but it's always better to ask ahead of time because you cannot have that compensation on the MLS.
Sure. And if you do want to put it out there to the association, there are means to do that, correct?
Yeah, so you are able to communicate if there is an offer of compensation on your listing.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate it however you want, wherever, as long as it's not on the MLS. So if you want to send out an email to a whole bunch of agents, if you want to put a marketing flyer together, if you want to put a sign writer on the sign in the yard stating, like all of that is permissible and okay. You are allowed to market the property however you need to market that property. It just can't be on the MLS.
Okay. And so let's briefly talk about websites and compensation.
Yeah.
I understand that it is okay to put it on. If you have a personal website, you can advertise it there. What is ICAAR's stance on best practices when it comes to websites and compensation? What do you think you'd recommend?
Yes. So as you mentioned, if you get a data feed from our MLS and it's, showcasing on your own website listings, you're allowed on your own website to state the compensation that you would be offering on that listing because it is separate from our MLS. You could not use your website as an aggregate of data where you're talking about what other people may offer as compensation. So that's kind of the difference is we don't want to use the MLS as a way to communicate offers of compensation across multiple parties. So since that's not allowed, you can't move it to your website and now have a place where you're communicating offers of compensation from multiple parties.
That makes sense. Yeah. So just, be mindful, be aware. This isn't something we take this very seriously because, one of the biggest parts of the settlement with NAR was that we were removing this. And so if we're caught, or I don't want to use the word caught, but if it comes to light that some agent is doing that, you're exposing the entire, association to the breach of a settlement. So we do take it very serious, and we watch that to make sure that it doesn't kind of slip through the cracks. So,
yeah. And this is something we're always talking about with brokers, trying to send out reminders to members. So if you have questions, ask us ahead of time because it's something we do take seriously, like you said.
And one more point I want to touch on, because you did mention the MLS and data feeds. This does filter out to like showing time and other types of ancillary programs that work within our MLS. Yeah. So it can't be on there either.
Correct. Okay. Anything that's plugged into our MLS, showing time, anything like that. You can't be using Central Lock if there's a place to put comments. You can't use anything that's connected to our MLS to use as a vehicle to have that conversation.
Great. And I think like it's been rolling out pretty well. I think especially with the adjustment of having compensation in the purchase agreement. I've actually even seen less phone calls where agents would call and, talk about that prior to the offer. I'm just getting offers now with that in there. And that's another field you want to check. I think that now that it's in there, it's not quite, muscle memory yet. So I do want to put it out to agents. When you're reviewing an offer, make sure that number that you want to be compensating is that number, because I've already seen incidences where, people just made an assumption and it wasn't the same number. They kind of scanned through. So be very careful. Make sure it's brand new to the form. So we got to kind of work that into the routine that you're checking that consistently.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to part 2, member benefits and spotlights. One of the big things is, we're trying to work to make this more robust, but right now we definitely have the free law update and ethics, and we want to make sure that, it's free. Take advantage of that. Sign up, because those spots do fill up pretty quick. So when is that?
Yeah, so May 1st and May 2nd. Every year, we like to offer one round of free law update and ethics to members. We do it in the spring, so you've got to kind of have your ducks in a row, be paying attention to education early in the year. But May 1st is going to be the ethics class this year. Okay. And so that's a Thursday, and then Friday, May 2nd, will be that law update all day long.
Perfect. And how do you, so like if you go online to sign up, how do you get the free, is there like a promo code, or is there something that you have to do to make sure that it's free to you?
Yes. So it will display as a paid course. It is free only for ICAAR members. So if you go to ICAAR's website under education, in that class description, there will be a coupon code. So go find that coupon code. There's a different one for each class, and you'll apply that during checkout, and then it'll kick the dollar amount to zero for you.
That's great. No, there's been some great classes. I mean, there might be in the notes here later on, but I do want to highlight that the AI class, using AI, that filled up super quick. Everyone I'm hearing had a great time, learning. It's great resources. Adam Pretorius did a fantastic job teaching. So Just wanted to give a shout out because I think a lot of people, that was a great turnout. Hopefully we're going to see more on the books with that, but being such a hot topic and seeing it be so prolific in what we're doing is with marketing and just our day-to-day routine, I think it's great that we're out there teaching it. So
yeah,
thanks for that.
Really trying to have some fun with the education topics this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have one on compensation.
I think that's a good idea.
just an hour. It's
just a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. We have some great topics here where we get involved, where ICAAR gets involved with the community. Would you mind highlighting a few of those and kind of like, we have the Iowa City Hospice Walk for Dignity. How does that, give me some details, please.
Yes, I would love to. So ICAAR is sponsoring the Iowa City Hospice Walk for Dignity event this year. So our community outreach committee, that is the group of volunteers who is always looking for ways that ICAAR needs to get involved in the community, support specific events, programs, whatever it may be. So they get a ton of requests all year long. So coming out with a couple exciting places that we're getting involved this month. And the first one is going to be that Iowa City Hospice Walk for Dignity. Perfect. So April 27th is the event date. The actual Walk for Dignity is free. It is open to the public. They're, of course, taking donations of whatever you would like, but anyone can register, so you can go with your friends, go with your family. It's just like a great opportunity to hopefully have great weather that day, get out, and support your community.
And this is the 26th annual Walk for Dignity. That's great.
It is.
And it supports Iowa City Hospice and the VNA of Iowa City, correct?
Yes, and we sponsored last year as well, so we're excited to be back there with them this year.
All right, so get out there, get your steps in, and do something for a good cause.
That's right.
I like it. What else do we have, Megan?
Yes, so a couple weeks later, we will also be involved in the Team Breast Friends Drive Away Cancer Golf Outing.
Perfect.
So Team Breast Friends, that is a local organization here in the corridor area. 100% of the proceeds from this event, and this is, I believe, their largest fundraiser of the year, but all those proceeds go directly to individuals here locally in the corridor area who are impacted by breast cancer.
And that's at this year at Pleasant Valley?
Yes, on May 4th.
Okay.
I think they're doing like May the 4th be with you or May the 4th.
Great.
But it'll be fun.
Well, and realtors love to get out there and swing the clubs, and so that's always a great way to get some activity, get some sunshine, and do something for a good cause. So it's great.
Yes, and I know they are accepting team signups right now as well. So
Perfect.
Great opportunity to get
involved. And where would you go to sign up?
Teambreastfriends.org.
Okay, perfect. Great. Next up, we've got some upcoming events and some miscellaneous items we want to touch on, but we've got a list of classes here. What are some of the highlights for the classes, Megan?
Yes. So as you mentioned, we just had 2 very successful ChatGPT classes, keeping that ball rolling. The next one that we've got coming up on April 16th, we're bringing in NAR speaker Nate Johnson to teach at the corner of smart growth and sustainability.
And what's that class kind of?
Yeah.
Give me a little detail on that class.
Yes. So that's going to be all about the principles of smart growth. If you've ever heard of kind of like smart planning, 15-minute city concepts.
Okay.
Basically, how can you get a little more creative with your planning and zoning regulations to maybe allow a little more mixed use density or a little more density in your zoning?
So if you're a developer, this is probably a really good course to kind of sit in on and learn kind of the smart way to, some new tips and tricks about, your next development.
Yeah, especially if, you are sitting on any planning and zoning boards, if you're a developer who's submitting proposals, anyone who, it's great information all the way around. I find it very interesting, but especially if you're in any of those rooms where you're having conversations, decision-making that affects our community and how we can kind of keep it sustained as it grows,
Perfect.
But still being able to support all of the community members.
And on April 24th, we have Iowa City Climate Action Division, Energy Raters with the HERS grant program.
Yes. We've done a few collabs with the Iowa City Climate Action Program before. We love working with them. And this is a topic that members requested. They said, hey, we would love to hear a presentation from them. They have the HERS energy rating. They have the HERS energy rating process. They have the energy raters, which are the people that go out and actually make that rating. And then they also have a grant program available at the city to kind of incentivize builders to get involved in the HERS program. So they're going to give a lunch and learn presentation all about that HERS program, the grant program, energy efficiency incentives for home buyers and sellers in general.
So I know like a lot of the utility providers around here will offer discounts or grants or anything when you're upgrading your appliances, your utilities and things like that. Are they going to touch about that?
Yes, they will be talking on any kind of like tax breaks, incentives, things that you can do, like small tweaks you can make to your home to be getting those credits back as well.
Great. We have, once again, on May 1st and 2nd, the free law update and ethics. And then on May 15th, we have Understanding New Construction. Who's teaching that?
This is another Adam Pretorius class.
Huh.
I know.
Yeah.
But, by popular demand. So this was taught, I'm not sure if it was last year, if it was 2023.
Sure.
But it was a sold out class. And so it was requested. And so we're bringing it back.
Adam's he's doing some great things with education. So he knows what he's talking about. And it's always good to sit in on a class with him.
Absolutely.
So other dates, April 11th. This is the deadline for the high school seniors to apply for the ICAAR scholarship. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So as a reminder, we have our scholarship applications open and available right now. If you go to ICAAR.org under advocacy, there's an application both for anyone who is a graduating senior within ICAAR service area, and then there's a separate application specifically for graduating seniors who are children of ICAAR members.
And again, I think we touched on this in a previous episode. If you didn't see that, go back, watch it. It's a great episode. But these are based on, not necessarily merit, but like community involvement. Is that correct?
Yeah. What we really like that it seems like a lot of scholarships in the area are very, academic, merit-based, and we do want to pay attention to that as well. But really what our scholarships are weighed on is civic engagement, community service, volunteer hours, things of that nature.
Great. Well, that's a great opportunity, another way that ICAAR gives back. But I think we're doing some good stuff here, and I'd like to see it keep going. But bringing this all back around, let's recap a few things. We want to make sure you are using the updated lead-based paint disclosure. And when you can download it, you can get it again where?
Remine and Form Simplicity under both the Iowa Realtors folder and the ICAAR folder.
Perfect. Sign up for free law update and ethics. Sign up soon. And then also check out the Walk for Dignity and the Drive Away Cancer Golf Outing, and check out all of ICAAR's upcoming events, classes, and important information. And you can go to online at icaar.org.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Megan. I appreciate always chatting here. Our monthly updates are great. I want to thank everybody who is tuning in. Please, if you like what you hear, like, subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. All the places you can get fantastic podcasts. But check it out. Give it a comment, like, subscribe, and thank you again for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.